Welcome to the podcast from HeadHunters Northwest. HeadHunters Northwest. Specialized recruiting, specialized approach, where we take you behind the scenes into our customers' businesses. For over 20 years, HeadHunters Northwest has served the global defense, small arms, and shooting sectors worldwide. Listen in as we discuss the inner workings of our USA and international customers. HeadHunters Northwest, finding you the best heads for business.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of HeadHunters Northwest podcast. I'm very excited to have Paul Parrott on this call. And if you're watching the video, I don't know what I guess we're going to call you CEO or King Cheese of Delta V, but we're going to talk about Delta V in a minute. I thought it would be interesting to our listeners, I hope. Paul and I met years ago. Don't even quote how long, because I don't even want to count it.
I'll keep my mouth shut.
Double digits, a long way back. And you flew into Oregon to interview for a job that I had been hired to work on.
Yeah.
And we went over to Ray's house.
We did.
So not something you normally do with a person you'd not met. And you were interviewing, and it was so much fun. And we went over to Ray's house. And if anybody knows Ray Elgin, of course, a million of you do that have been around. We'll have to send Ray a note about this and send him a link. But that was the beginning of my relationship with the crazy man. And I learned what a wonderful person you are, but what a risk taker. And one of the most interesting people, because not only have you worked in the industry for an extended period of time, which we can go over, PMC ammunition, FN, all kinds of strategic armory corps, all kinds of stuff. But you actually, I think, were running an all-state insurance business, and you are a phenomenal salesman and have the world's best customer service. So I'd love for you to tell everyone a little bit about how you got into this industry, and also a veteran, part of the ballistics group, right?
EOD, the bomb squad.
Yeah. Bomb squad. So can you kind of do a little quick rundown of how you got here? Because I think it's really interesting, and it also makes you so good at consulting and what you're doing now.
You bet. Well, thanks. I appreciate it. It's great to be here with you. And it has been a long time. I won't quote those numbers, but not much of my time in this industry has been spent without knowing you since
I just never go away.
Yeah, it's been a long time. When I graduated high school, I was certain to go to college, and that just wasn't right for me yet. So I ended up going in the Army, and ended up going into the Army EOD, into the bomb squad, which was right down my alley. I grew up around Vegas in Nevada when it was really small back then, racing motorcycles, racing just about everything. So I was already kind of a go fast and hard kind of guy. And bomb squad.
I call you one of my adrenaline junkie groupies.
Yeah.
There's a few of you.
You bet. It's been done with managed risk, though, because I'm still here and I have all my digits and all of that. So that was a great time. It was excellent for me. I ended up getting most of my education while I was in, and then finished it up after I got out. And when I got out, I started an all-state insurance agency. And I was actually the youngest agent with Allstate Insurance. Back then, it was 22 when I started it. That's probably changed these days, but that was the case then, and had a great agency, ran it for 10 years and was absolutely bored to death. I came out of the bomb squad and, owned and ran my insurance agency, and knew that I was going to do something different at some point. But it was a great start, a great catalyst, and we ran a great agency that, was one of the better ones in the country at the time.
And you won awards, as I recall. I mean,
lots of awards,
real deal,
and all the things that go along with that. So it was great. I started competitive shooting, which got into a lot of that while in the military. But started competitive shooting and reloading for myself to support my habit, and that turned into a company called Centerfire Cartridge Company, which actually still exists today. I ended up selling that, but I started an ammunition company during that time. PMC ammunition was not terribly far away from my location. And I started buying components from them to keep up with what turned into a little business of reloading, and then a large one with Centerfire Cartridge Company. And back in those days, police departments and every place else would use reloads for their budget for training and all of that. So we ended up doing Las Vegas Metro and all the local dealers and shooters, and it spawned into quite a little deal. A guy approached me that decided he needed to own it. And so I sold it to him. But I had established quite a relationship with PMC at that time. I became their largest purchaser of components, which kind of blew him away out of doing what was really a garage shop start for what it did. And they offered me a job, and it was about a eighth of what I made with Allstate, and that Allstate positioned me financially to be able to do whatever I wanted. And so I went to work for them as the national sales manager of PMC.
And so began the journey with your like-minded brothers and sisters of adrenaline junkies.
That is very true. So that's where my kind of after Centerfire Cartridge, but really into the industry, that was my real entry, if you will, into I call it the shop industry.
Yeah. Now, after that job, is that when you went to Strategic Armory, or did you go to FN, or
Nope, there was a bunch of different stuff in between there.
Yeah.
When I stepped away from PMC Ammunition, after about 10 years, I bought into
that's right.
a company called Wild West Marketing.
I remember now.
Yep. And did that for quite some period of time until my business partner bought me out of that.
That's when we met.
And I was doing a lot of consulting at that time as well, but we had also Wild West. And Wild West repped Cold Steel Knives, PMC Ammunition, later MagTech Ammunition, Springfield Armory, a bunch of great notable companies. It was awesome. And we got to know all those businesses really well and how they operate. Those, after I stepped out of Wild West Marketing, those are the roles that then took me to consult with FN and Strategic Armory Corps and those different places, which usually resulted in being hired on for a period of time to do whatever it is we were going to do. Strategic Armory Corps really started because of my background in ammunition. And eventually I was the president of PMC Ammunition before I left. And they wanted to start an ammunition company called Nexus Ammunition.
Oh, I remember that now.
Other companies that they had to do real high-end match ammunition.
Yeah.
And so they contracted me to consult with them on how to set that company up. And that began my time and stint with Strategic Armory Corps. So
I forgot about the Nexus piece.
Yeah. So that went on for a couple of years. So did FN for a period of time. And through all of those.
Great group of people that were working there at that time.
Great group of people.
Phenomenal. And actually, I think you guys all stay in touch.
We do. Absolutely. Yep. There's the OG crew.
Just a great group of people that have scattered and gone different places. But, that's, I think, really unique to this industry. And helping each other. A lot of networking goes on there.
A lot of networking goes on. I have a lot of guys that worked for me during that course of time that I ended up working for later on.
Yeah, that's right.
It flip-flops. It goes both ways.
It does.
You do yourself well to not burn any bridges and to separate if it's not under otherwise wonderful circumstances as professionally as you can, because it's a small industry and you will end up coming back around to be involved with those whom you were involved with before in a lot of cases.
I think that's also maturity though. And you've worked really hard at your relationships, even if there's been people that you maybe don't necessarily align with. I have seen you do that because you do go end up working with someone else. And it's not just a strategic partnership. The person that you hired to work for you may very well hire you to work for them.
Absolutely. And that's occurred for me several times, actually.
Yeah.
And so don't burn those bridges. I mean, everything happens for a reason. I won't get all philosophical or too religious or whatever, but we're fairly well in control of what we do to a point.
Yeah.
But
you can choose how to behave, how to react.
How to behave and how to react. Not everything goes your way. And when it doesn't, you can throw a fit on the way out the door or not. And a lot of times that was precisely why somebody called me back up to say, wow, I don't think I'd have handled that way. You handled it really great. And you're the kind of person I want or to lead or to teach our new young managers how to handle that differently.
Yeah. The people skills are the hard part. And the other stuff is just mechanics.
It is.
The people skill is tough. So how did you end up, and I'm not trying to set this up. I'm having a blank. I should have looked at your resume before I got on the phone or on this call. How did you end up getting into Voodoo rifles?
Yeah.
Voodoo guns.
Yep. Voodoo Gunworks was a business we ended up starting while I was at Strategic Armory Corps.
Okay.
A well-known engineer in our industry was approaching Strategic Armory Corps on behalf of another company for some suppressor work. Strategic Armory Corps, we owned AWC suppressors.
Yes.
And they approached us to OEM their suppressors for them. And while that didn't end up working out, in an amicable kind of way, but it just didn't work for both of the companies, he called me back after we established a relationship and said, I have a really awesome product concept that would be great for surgeon rifles. It would be an awesome trainer rifle and 22 long rifle for that.
Yeah.
And I presented it to the ownership of Strategic Armored Corps. Just with the other acquisitions they were doing and everything else they had going on, they were not interested. But I personally saw a ton of merit in the concept. He hadn't been able to bring it to life yet, but it had a great concept. So I told him that and told him, my time was going to be coming to an end at Strategic Armored Corps. And when it did, I'd let him know. And I was interested. And he said, well, I'm under a last right of refusal that lasts for a couple more months right now with Remington. Thank goodness it didn't end up going there. We all know how that went.
Yeah, no kidding. I don't think I knew that piece. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, well, that, and again, just conceptual at that time. When that expires, I'm not going to renew with him because, he had some good foresight knowing what we all saw eventually come on. And the phone rang one day and he said, hey, that expired. Are you still interested? And I said I was. And we got together, formed what became Voodoo Gunworks, which my wife named.
Yeah, it's a great name.
It's a great name, and it's an interesting story on how it came to be. But we started Voodoo Gunworks. People thought I was nuts to go build a couple $1,000 high-end 22 rifle that absolutely 3 people were going to be interested. And it changed the 22 rimfire market and the industry forever.
Very successful.
Yeah.
And in fact, it was so successful that you recently sold that business.
That's correct. Yeah, we are. We sold it earlier this year when it all consummated. And that's puts me where I am today in that I have some availability, if you will. And
well, it kind of, you started this Delta V now. And I want to hear about Delta V because even though we visited early, we didn't really talk about, I know a few things about it, but I'm excited to hear where you're going to build this because I don't know, it just always has seemed to me that anything Paul Parrott touches turns to gold.
Well, I appreciate that. I can tell you some of the opposite stories, but I try to hide those the best I can.
Well, I'm not really trying to call you a leprechaun or anything, but
our failures usually become our best source of growth.
That's right.
And knowing what we're not going to do again, how we'll do it differently next time. So as you start to get my age now, you have a few of those in your quiver.
A few of those, yeah.
Yeah.
I've got a couple of those.
Yeah, we all do when we start. Yeah. This is usually a little bit more gray than it's right now.
You're so funny. Yeah. Tell me about Delta V. What is that? And because our listeners will want to know, and I want to know how, what you're looking for and kind of what you guys are doing and who your ideal customer is so they know who you can help.
You bet. So to be clear, Delta V existed already.
Okay.
Are a couple of awesome guys, an engineer and a sales and marketing and operations guy. We have done some tremendous stuff in the industry that, like any smaller business and startup, there's always some struggles and all of that. We all vowed one day that I'll be careful how I say this, but we all vowed one day to work together because we were tired of working with those whose ethic match our own, and the willingness of them to do whatever it took financially instead of what was sometimes ethically correct. And it's harder and harder to find those kind of partners. You always have each other's back. So I sold Voodoo Gunworks, and like about 3 seconds later, the phone rang because Scott was watching all that and said, okay, now it's time. And so I came and joined them. So to be clear, it's young.
Okay.
Well, it was already, it
was in process.
It was in process.
Okay.
And so
what are you guys doing? What's your business model?
It's twofold. We conceive and create really awesome niche products. We have a couple of those now, which you can see on the website. One's a very cool and innovative AR trigger. People hear AR and they yawn, but this is pretty significant. And we do that same thing for other companies in the industry. Mike is
what makes that AR trigger interesting? Tell us more about that.
Most triggers are adjustable for pull weight. Good ones. Trigger Tag, Timney, and all the really excellent products that are out there. This is also a self-user adjustable for its reset. Okay. So you can adjust the reset down to almost no reset. So it becomes a phenomenally near full automatic rate of fire for somebody who can operate the trigger that way. Semi-automatic legal trigger because you can adjust the reset down to basically almost no reset. It's makes it super fast. So it's a great competitive trigger. It would not be a duty trigger. It wouldn't be of interest to law enforcement or military.
Yeah, but it's more meant for competition and things like
competition or the consumer at home that wants to be able to accurately and confidently increase their rate of fire.
So if you have a Halloween and a whole lot of pumpkins, you just line them up.
You have a Halloween and a whole lot of pumpkins. You'll see some videos on our website, and you can see for some of the younger studs out there that can run a trigger well.
Okay.
They can make that thing start sounding very close to full auto. You can get it in a cyclic rate, a legal pull cyclic rate of between 500 and 600 rounds a minute.
Wow. And your website, now we're going to have that link on here, but if anyone's listening and going, what's the website? It's deltavusa.com.
That's correct.
Okay.
So,
and then you have another product you did mention to me that's new, that's patent pending.
It is. It's in final development right now.
Okay.
It is an AR gas block, but it is a self-adjusting AR gas block. There's some great adjustable gas blocks out there right now, but you have to tune it.
Yeah.
And when you change the configuration of your rifle, like putting a suppressor on or whatever, on a semi-automatic rifle, you have to readjust for extra back pressure that does. This manages it for you. It's just self-adjusting. So you can change the configuration of your rifle however you want, and it takes care of it. So pretty cool, innovative product. We actually have a couple OEMs that are
talking to you about that.
We're not sure whether we want to do that or field it ourselves. So
your group, someone can come in, either a small business owner or a company or a division or, a group of engineers at a company, really anything, the sky's the limit, can hire you guys to come in and help with engineering challenges, maybe looking over sales and marketing and operations. There's partnerships. You guys are good with introducing other companies to other companies. There's might be projects. So there's a lot you can do for the industry, but very hands-on. Very much you're involved.
Focus. It's the three of us, and we are the three that you will get, and you nailed it. We do a lot of sales and marketing, consulting help, operations, which is where a lot of my background goes back into as well, along with sales and marketing, but so does Scott, and engineering, which is Mike Stakes, our engineer, who's been at it a long time and really great on the firearms, non-firearms, accessories, and ammunition side. So we're often, company will have a staff of engineers that are just buried and overwhelmed, and they need some additional engineering help for a little while, or they're stuck on an issue. And it's nice to have a fresh perspective, look at it and say, you know how it is when you're so close to a project. You can get a little myopic in your view, and a fresh perspective will happen fast sometimes and really open up a door and get a project, over the finish line that's really close.
Yeah, because sometimes you're so focused on what you're working on, it's really hard without another outside perspective.
Sure. And that's really true both in operations and sales and marketing as well.
Yeah.
We really get used to, as companies, doing what we've done, and we want a different result, but we don't know what little tweaks to make to kick that over the line and start getting a new result. So we help often in that regard as well.
Yeah, that would be very helpful. Now, your customer base, it's going to be, I presume, anyone that would exhibit at SHOT Show. It's going to be the shooting, hunting, outdoor, really anyone with any product. It's not limited to anything, but I guess that your focus, your real specialty niche is going to be firearms and accessories, and even ammunition, I would think, too, to some extent.
Correct. Actually, quite a bit. Mike has a ton of experience there, and so do I. Our days gone by. We're helping a metal finishing company right now that also will do some firearms parts, metal finishing, but the dominance of their business is not even in the firearms industry.
Yeah.
Where Mike's an excellent process engineer as well. And that, coupled with my operations experience, can oftentimes help them, in their factory in that regard. So yeah, we have a pretty broad reach. There's some areas we don't go. We're not software engineers.
Yeah.
Not going to write the latest, newest software for operating your company, but we are working on one of those right now for a company that wants a special computational flow dynamics model to do.
Oh, very cool.
And so Mike has a extreme level of competence in that area. And so we're working on that for somebody.
And you guys, you're located in...
The company's home office is out of Phoenix, Arizona. I am in Cedar City, Utah, Southern Utah, and we're together all the time. They're either traveling here or I'm going down there.
Yeah.
And we're actually in the process of relocating. It'll probably take about 6 months, home office up here in Cedar City.
Oh, wow. How nice is that? That's fun. And you guys are so close, you can fly in and out of anywhere. And I'm sure you guys will be at SHOT Show. So people can even meet up with you there. I mean, that's not that far away. We're recording this just so everyone knows that the very end of August, and this will actually go live in September. So if you think about that, when you're listening to this, SHOT Show's right around the corner.
It is at Voodoo. We were starting in April on what we were going to do for SHOT Show.
Oh, yeah. You better know what you're doing by now.
You bet. So, it's not too soon to start talking about SHOT. NASGW is not far around the corner, and all those kind of things.
Are you guys are going to be there at NASGW, or someone
right now? We won't.
Okay.
That is, of course, wholesaler focused, and we don't have a bunch of call there yet. So
but there you will, and it's a good place for meetings.
You bet, it is. So the SHOT works great for us. Media Day, the range day, of course, being at SHOT, the new product area, and just going around to see our customers, if you will. And so we'll be there.
Yeah. It's such a great place to meet up and network. People are there from all over the world. So
they really are. And it's our primary place that we're able to connect with our international customers as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm really excited about this new step for you.
Thanks.
And you're like the guy who never stops, and never sits down.
If you do, you get some moss growing on you, your joints start getting achy, and, so you got to go ride hard, shoot straight, and speak the truth.
That's right.
That's a Skeeter Skelton deal, but I stole it a long time ago.
Well, it sounds like it's your own, Paul.
It's old enough now for a lot of our listeners that they would think that, but I want to be clear.
Yeah, that's right. Give credit where credit's due, so you're not called on the carpet.
Yeah, I stole it a long time ago. It's on my leathers on my road race.
Is it really? Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, gosh. That's awesome. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to visit with me. And I would encourage anyone that's listening to this, if you aren't sure if you need a consultant or if you even want to talk to a consultant, I think Paul and his group are always much more than that. So well connected in the industry. And if they don't know, they know someone, and so reasonable, just willing to have a conversation and see what they can do to help. I would really encourage you to reach out to Paul, and we'll put the link to deltavusa.com.
Mm-hmm.
And then people, I'm sure, can reach you on LinkedIn as well if they want to reach out that way. You can always reach out to me. I'll put you in touch with Paul.
You bet. That's awesome. I appreciate it. It's always great to see you and get caught back up. We don't do it often enough anymore with how we are, but you're right. We do as much just networking and connecting people with the right people if we're not that as anything else. So always happy to talk.
Yeah. Good stuff. Well, thank you, Paul. I appreciate you being on the podcast. And that's it for this session of HeadHunters Northwest podcast. Tune in for the next one. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the HeadHunters Northwest podcast. Specialized recruiting, specialized approach. You can reach out at HeadHuntersNW.com or call 605-600-1709. Join us again next week as we look behind the curtain into the global defense, small arms, and shooting sectors. HeadHunters Northwest, finding you the best heads for business.